Okay, now I'll talk about a little bit, touch a little bit about carbon cycle. Okay, so in the carbon cycle, so first of all, why we need to discuss about why we need to talk about carbon cycle. So because we already discussed about decomposition, so I want to add some or try to make some emphasis on how soil processes, which is here the decomposition, relate to the soil carbon cycle. Okay, so the carbon cycles is the term for the process in which carbon transitions between organic and inorganic forms. The transition of the carbon, okay, from organic into inorganic forms. In the carbon cycles, so the carbon stays carbon. It is neither created nor destroyed because carbon will still remain as a carbon. Carbon can only change what it is bonded to. So carbon again is always a carbon. So in the atmosphere, uh, we typically find carbon as carbon dioxide, the CO2. This is the inorganic version of carbon. So it is not part of something alive, also inorganic. So organic version of carbon includes sugars, cellulose, something in the plant cell walls, and living tissues. So while we can increase or decrease the forms of carbon, we cannot change the total amount of carbon that exists. So however, carbon can change forms between CO2 to any organic forms of carbon. So in general, the carbon undergoes different processes to be at different forms. So I hope these example diagrams can refresh your memory on your first topic in life process course and during your first year. Okay, try to remember again how this uh, carbon cycle looks like. Okay, so then the relation of carbon and soil simply as soil work as sort of medium in which the carbon cycle can take place. Okay, soil is just the medium. So along with ocean water, soil serves as a major regulator of carbon by enabling plant growth and photosynthesis to occur, so allowing for slow decomposition of organic material and also creating a home for the decomposers. So why we need to concern about this carbon cycle? So probably I will a little bit divert about our discussion on the carbon cycle on the soil ecology topic, but this is important for me also. So atmospheric concentration, for instance, of CO2, the greenhouse gas, increased from pre-industrial levels of 280 ppm in 1850 to 310 ppm in 1950 and increased further to 380 ppm in 2005. So which means that there is a stable increases, so exponential increases here. There is a large body of scientific evidence indicating rising CO2 concentrations are linked to an increase in global temperature, melting of glacier and polar ice, rising sea levels, and also some extreme storms. So, two important anthropogenic factors or human activity factors that contributing to the increase in atmospheric CO2 concentrations, which are fossil fuel combustion, so which we always use as a fossil fuel using petrol, and also the change in the land use. So we already know about fossil fuel. For us, we mainly use fossil fuel in transportation and also, well, yeah, the electricity. So fossil fuel burning suddenly takes carbon that has been inert in underground stores for millions of years and add it to the pools of exchangeable carbon already present in the atmosphere. So the carbon that's stored inside, that keep inside the in the earth, now unearthed and then present in the increase in the atmosphere. So, but my focus is on the second anthropogenic factors, which is the land use change. Land use change, such as conversion of forests or grassland for agricultural activities, removes carbon-rich vegetation and accelerates decomposition of organic matter in the soil. So, increased decomposition can, which means this will increase the CO2 because a lot of dead body, that right, this will increase the CO2 in the atmosphere, which is the greenhouse gas, therefore can increase the atmospheric temperature, right? eh? So therefore, here I want to relate how decomposition association with carbon cycle and direct to global warming. How land use change affects carbon balance is of great interest for soil ecologists. So the global carbon cycle is delicate balance between carbon fixation by green plants, which removes CO2 from the atmosphere, and respiration, which releases CO2 back to the atmosphere. So in soils, CO2 is released from plant roots and soil biota that are involved in decomposing organic residues and also soil organic matter. In the detrital soil food web organisms, this also depend on decomposition of carbon-rich substrates to acquire the energy needed for their survival, and in turn recycle nutrients contained in the organic residues for the benefits of the plants. So don't get me wrong. So agriculture is very important for us as human. Again, agriculture is food. However, we we can turn our practice in agriculture to be friendlier to the environment, to be more sustainable. So here is a take-home extra reading for you. Imagine if you, a farmer, could get paid to lower CO2. Okay, if let's say, if you can prove that you can reduce the CO2 by changing of your agriculture practices without changing the amount of yield that you can produce. Okay, that if you can get to be paid to lower the CO2 levels in the atmosphere, how you as a farmer could uh, could do, how could the farmers go about doing this, how would you do? Okay, this is the take home message for you to think about, and we can discuss this together.